Well, hello, I'm Molly Ovenden, and I am joined today with Kara Ronchetti, who is one of my creative writing clients. Hi, Kara. How's it going?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well today. I am very excited to share some of your story with some folks watching and listening here because when we started working together, you had a little tiny bit of confidence and you had a bedtime story idea that you told your kids. And after working together for 90-ish days, you went from that idea to a complete first draft. And now you're planning not only in your revision process, but you're planning a trilogy and like extended series. And it started with a bedtime story. So let's just sit with that for a second, because that's amazing transformation. How does that feel?
You say it out loud.
Does it feel like exciting?
It feels amazing. I I don't know. It's like I feel like it's taken so much longer, probably just because I've been trying to get words out for so long and not ever come to a completion. So only 90 days, really?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
this is a huge win,
Yeah.
because I remember meeting you and you had this hesitation about whether what you wrote was good or whether you should even pursue writing, but you had a longing for it. So then when we started working together in a one-on-one capacity, you just took everything on board and you're winning. Like, it's amazing.
You're easy to follow.
Well, tell us a bit about yourself and what it is that you are writing that we're so excited to celebrate today.
Um, you talked about bedtime stories. So I have two little girls at home, and I also like to paint. So when we moved to our new house, I painted this mural in our daughter's room just to make it look bigger. I promised this, and it was so much fun and so imaginative. And it just had like this little castle in the background, and I just got this idea going about this princess who was in this castle, and I just wanted her to sleep, and so I made it as long as humanly possible. But as I was doing it, she wanted it every time, so I had to keep remembering, how did this go? So it was just sort of stuck in my head about this girl who was stuck in this crumbling tower, and she's so selfish, and she had to move on to all of these trials and get to the end, and she just loved it. Then this isn't even the part of the book that I've written. This is this is the story after. But yeah, she kisses this dragon instead of slaying it, which is what she wanted the whole time. But yeah, which it could change, I don't know. But I had written that much, and I said, this isn't the beginning. And so I had to start way far back, and that is when I started working with you, and I've got this whole different book about her now, and who she really is, and her transformation of becoming that. So yeah, that is what I've got so far.
That's so cool, Kara. And it is just so much fun reading your installments and watching the story unfold, and then watching you just like explore, like, what if she did this? What if we did this? And you're building a world, like history and culture and like
Legend. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's really exciting. I'm making maps, and I write this stuff about, it was out the west window, and then I draw a picture and I go, no, that was out the east. So I'm just discovering as I go. But that's like, I think that's one of my favorite things about writing, is that you don't know what's going to happen, and you think you know what's going to happen, and then you write it and you're like, oh, this was so much better. Yeah, it's so exciting.
So what brought you into working with me through our one-on-one coaching? Like, what made you say, I've got to make creative writing a habit. I've got to finish writing this book. And what kind of challenges were coming up before we started working together?
Well, so like I think I mentioned a little bit about that where I couldn't finish anything, and I'd been trying to write for years. I had picked up a book about writing, and it had something in there about free writing. Okay, what's this? And I started doing it, and I made a New Year's resolution one year that I would write every day. And I did this year after year after year, and it would start out really good. And then as the year went on, it was less and less and less. But I did it, I want to say at least 8 years, because I know I started it when my daughter was born, and she's 8, the oldest. And I might have been doing it before that, but never had I finished anything. And so I was wanting to learn more, and I looked through the community ed pages, and I found your name, and I just signed up, and it was so wonderful. I mean, having you and this community and these people who were listening, but I was just like red in the face, like, which thing should I read? I've written 3 things tonight, and you said it's either garbage or gold. So just pick something and we'll celebrate it. You showed up and you wrote. And I thought, yeah. And I took a breath. I did. And so then I started sharing these things. And it just, I heard these comments from people that made me realize that in my secret world of writing, it wasn't just for me. People enjoyed it. And so I wanted to keep doing it. And I thought that gave me the courage to want to go on with you in a more coaching manner so that we could pursue it and get it out and get the whole thing finished for once. And I did. So first draft is done, and now we just keep moving on. And yeah.
It's amazing, Kara. And I think like there's so many people like you who have that desire but have kept it under wraps, and we buy the books and we read them and we do some of the activities, and then they fall by the wayside because writing can be such an isolating activity, but it also is a very important solitary activity. But so like you said, you had been on your own for a while. How has having support factored into your growth and confidence as a writer?
It's an amazing tool. I just feel like being in this world, when you're reading, you feel so you're connected with this story. And so when you're writing, you feel like, oh, I'm connected with this story. But when you're reading, it just takes you along. But when you're writing, you're in your head, you're your worst nightmare. You're telling yourself how bad it is, how horrible that sentence was, or you reread it and you said, oh, that was going to be really good. And it's this whole cycle of, I loved it, I'm going to share it. They either love it or they hate it. And then you're back down because either they liked it and you don't, and they say they do and you don't believe them, or they say that it wasn't any good and it confirms your worst fear. So you just keep doing that. And so you need somebody who is going to go along with you and support you and tell you, yeah, I agree with you, and this is how we can work on it. Or this was really good and you should be celebrating it. And if you believe that that person has more knowledge in it than you do, which clearly you do, that helped me to see where I was good and where I was not, and to be okay with it not being perfect, and just having support. That's what anybody who has been trying to write and can't get through it, you definitely need somebody to do that for you. I firmly believe.
Well, what's one lesson? So thinking of like everybody who wants to take this next leap in their writing life, in their author career, like you have been, like the decision you made, like what's one lesson that you would want everyone to know?
I would say you should find the person that can get the words out of you if you can't get them out yourself. I mean, you can probably get them out, but you need somebody to work with you, somebody that isn't there to critique, but to work alongside you. you can't do it. I don't think anybody can really do anything in a vacuum. And so many people who are writing think that that's what that is. But if you think about people, like C.S. Lewis and Tolkien and his little group, they had a group and they produced wonderful things. So you need to have somebody out there to champion you and another ear to listen. So find somebody who's going to be along there with you, working it through.
And what would you say one of the keys you have found to becoming the writer that you're made to be, that you've been dreaming of, and making that move from writer to author? What's been one of the keys that's unlocked that path for you?
I would say I needed to have confidence, because as I said, I was trying to do the daily thing. And not only, I don't even actually get the chance to write daily now, but having the knowledge that it's okay that it's not every day, but it's a time that you need to have set aside. So I came up with Tuesdays and Thursdays. These are the times that both the kids were not home, and I had time for me to write. And I tried my hardest not to let anybody else get involved in that time. So you have to have the time, and you have to have that, like I said, the support of the person to bring you along. If I didn't have that, then who am I writing it for right now? Just me? Well, maybe I could just not do it. But if I didn't hand something into you every week, and if I didn't think that it was very quality, I needed to really work to make sure that those things were getting done.
Yeah. And you have been very faithful to sending in work for feedback, and that's been so fun, because that accountability piece, you taking advantage of the feedback that I offer each week, that's you've grown week to week.
Thanks.
Yeah. What would you say to someone who is on the fence of considering getting support from me to get their words out? Somebody who's like, oh, I don't know, do I need a coach? What would you say?
And go to the other pasture. This grass really is greener. I mean, it's so wonderful to have somebody who's looking at your words and saying, you have something worth saying. Because you can say that to yourself and you can hear it from somebody who is in your family, but you're not going to believe them. You just won't. You're never going to believe yourself totally until you hear somebody who you trust, which I trust, that you've been coaching for years. You know how to help people. You've been writing books. So yes, I need somebody in that area of my life to say, yeah, I agree with you. This is good. Or yeah, I agree with you. We got to work on this. And this is how you can get better. And you just aren't alone doing it. And so you can run in that new green pasture with your words and just trust the process. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You've got somebody who's there to help you. So yeah,
Do it. Kara's final words. So one last question here. What's it actually like to work with Molly Ovenden as your creative writing coach?
So great. If you have not personally met Molly, it's like a big warm fuzzy hug every time. You're just going to hear these words and just be like, oh, she loves it. Oh, that's great. There was one point where you'd read something and you were like, I forgot that I was just reading a submission. I thought this was a book. I was so into it. It was so great to hear that. Like, and it happened once, right? But it happened once. And I had somebody who I really respected and trusted. You're going to get somebody who loves what you're doing. And you're going to have somebody to say, this week, hey, I'm at a 3 out of 10. I need support. I'm going to quit this week, where I would have done and just said, I can't do this. I'm not really meant to be an author. That was just me thinking that before, when I was at a 9 or a 10 a couple weeks ago. That was, I don't know. Maybe it's Christmas and you're excited. You just don't trust yourself to believe in yourself. And you do. You trust and believe in your clients, and you can help bring out the best. So you have done that for me, and I thank you.
Awesome. Well, Kara, thank you so much. It's an absolute privilege to get to work alongside you, to get to link arms with you and draw out what is in there. And like you said, get those words out. And so I'm so excited to keep partnering with you in your future success. And thanks so much for letting me celebrate you today and share some of your story with our listeners and viewers today. So thank you. Happy writing, Kara.
Yeah, thank you. You too.